On this episode, we dig into Thailand's F&B scene with hospitality consultant Justin Dunne.
So if you've ever wondered what goes on behind the scenes in Thailand's 5-star hotels and glitziest bars, you'll dig this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap, this is the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand in 2001 to try and introduce maple syrup into some Thai dishes for a new flavor, but I never seem to have enough left over to run the experiments.
I'm down for that, man.
Yeah.
And I met Knut, an American who came to Thailand on a 1-year teaching contract almost 25 years ago. Hard to believe. Fell in love with the drama of Thai politics. As they say, if voting changed anything, it would be illegal. So I never left.
You are a drama queen.
When it comes to politics, I enjoy the sitting back with my popcorn. Let's just put it that way.
No shortage of that here.
True that. We want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get every episode a day early, behind-the-scenes photos of our interviews, a heads-up to send questions to upcoming guests, and access to our Discord server to chat with me, Greg, and other listeners around the world. But best of all, patrons also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and Bangkok topics. On this week's supersized bonus show, we chatted about the foibles of relying too much on free technology you find online, which can often leave you backed into a corner. And of course, my insights into the recent government turbulence, again, that saw the Thai Prime Minister being suspended by Thailand's Constitutional Court. To learn how to become a patron and get all this good stuff, plus full access to over 700, I think it's now 800, according to our data from last week, to over 800 bonus and regular back episodes, click the support button at the top of our website.
You're right. We got to update that number. That's old. That's old numbers. We got to pump those numbers up.
Over 800.
That's right. Yeah, thanks for the explainer on the bonus show. It was a good one. I wonder when something like this happens, your students are probably sitting at home going like, oh my God, John Ed's he's going to be talking tomorrow so much.
Well, it's funny is that I'm not really supposed to be teaching Thai stuff, but I do use it as examples. So I used to totally stay away from it, but now I do talk about it and try to draw parallels or usually a contrast. So it's normally American news that they're like, oh my God.
Right.
I'm gonna have to listen to Al Chanet talk about this.
Right. Yeah, no shortage of that either. Yeah.
True.
You're a busy guy.
True that.
Yeah. Also, don't forget, if you listen to us on Spotify, you can hear all of our bonus shows there as well. If you're a patron, simply link your Patreon account to your Spotify account and add our new feed titled Bangkok Podcast Badass Patrons Only to hear the regular and bonus shows in the same place.
Yep.
So on this episode, we chat with a young fella by the name of Justin Dunne. Now, longtime expats, especially those who love good food and fine wine, probably know Justin's name, but for those who don't, I don't think it's unfair to say he's somewhat of an icon in Bangkok's F&B scene. He was the GM of the legendary Bed Supper Club on Soi 11, which was named one of the top 100 clubs in the world back in the day. He's since lent his expertise to 5-star hotels, Michelin restaurants, and all manner of nightclubs, bars, and speakeasies in Southeast Asia. He was also a guest on Season 6, Episode 24, talking about his side hustle, Bangkok Haunts. Now, my fine dining days are far behind me, but Justin is still going strong, so it was a pleasure to sit down with him and chat about Bangkok's F&B scene, the quality of service in Thailand, why a good number of the best restaurants in the world are in Bangkok, and of course, whether or not the insane tipping culture in the West will ever make its way to Thailand. So here's my chat with our friend Justin Dunne. Okay, well, I'm sitting here across the table from our old friend Justin Dunne. Justin, welcome back to the Bangkok Podcast.
Thank you. Good to be back.
You just very kindly bought me a little thing of Häagen-Dazs ice cream and Bundaberg ginger beer.
It's the perfect match.
Yeah, like he's match made in heaven. And this stuff from this ginger beer from Australia is really good stuff.
That is good stuff. Even this root beer it's pretty carbonated, but pretty tasty as
I
well.
love the bottles. Anyway, you were previously a guest. I can't remember the season or the episode right now, but you were talking about your ghost tours, Bangkok haunts.
Correct. Yes.
And
I guess that was probably about 2 years ago.
2 years ago. Yeah. Well, it's great to see you again. And you are always on the ball with the haunted ghost stories and things like that. But I think what most people know you for is your F&B and hospitality experience. And you have a business called Evolution 48, which is a F&B consultancy. Is that remotely correct?
It is. And it's what is my real job. You know, the ghost tours stuff has always been a very passionate hobby.
Right.
But my time here in Thailand and Singapore has always been operating, running, opening, consulting on restaurants and bars.
Right. Now, I just thought it'd be really interesting to sit down and chat about this. And you mentioned it when we had drinks a few weeks back. You said, hey, let's do a show about this stuff because it's a constantly evolving space. Bangkok is one of the world's leading food cities. Thai food is a darling of anyone, really. And there's a lot to talk about the evolving F&B scene in Bangkok. And as also we talk about how COVID changed things and how things are changing and evolving. And just thinking back to when I first got here in 2001, I mean, international food was lasagna at the Italian joint at the end of Sukhumvit, right? And it wasn't really as international as it is now. You just went over a quick list with me and talked about how Bangkok had 6 of the top 50 restaurants in the world.
Yep. And
Why? What's changed?
A lot has changed. Thailand has always been super food centric. It is a culture that grows up paying attention to food more so than a lot of other cultures, at least within the US. We pay attention a little bit, but nothing like anytime I did tastings in my restaurants, I always loved getting feedback from the Thai staff because they were so keenly fine-tuned. Their palates were amazing just because they pay attention to food so much. But a lot of things have changed. It's obviously a lot changed when Michelin came in several years ago, and all of a sudden, you know, from the get-go, Bangkok and Thailand, several of the other cities really started popping up quite a bit. So there was a tremendous amount of momentum for Bangkok landing on the map. But with this most recent award, with 6 of the restaurants, you know, this is the global award, 6 of the restaurants being here in Bangkok really solidifies that Bangkok is the culinary capital of the world. You know, I think it's been debatable for a long time. Is it Paris? Is it New York? Is it Mexico City? Is it Jakarta? Is it Singapore?
Right.
But no, man, it is now very, very clear that Bangkok has become the culinary capital of the world. And you know, these are high-end restaurants that are getting awarded, but it goes so much further than that as well. It's even a lot of mid-tier restaurants are really turning out fine products here. And then also, you know, with Chef Pam being awarded also here in 2025, the best female chef in the world, you know, with Potong, and again, her restaurant having the highest entry level, I believe, ever for a restaurant to jump up to, to just jump into the list at number 13 already. It's sorry US, sorry France, sorry Mexico. Thailand is winning, in particular Bangkok.
Yeah. Is it a lot of these restaurants that are in the top 6, are they managed and the head chef's Thai, or what makes them enter into the top 50? Sorry.
Yeah, let me think. I'd have to go through that list. I mean, Patong is Thai female. Gagan is obviously Indian.
Oh yes.
Who else is on that list?
I remember I went to Gagan when he first opened years ago, and he asked me to come on and sort of talk about it on my blog back when I had a blog, and I almost wanted to say, really? I've got like 9 visitors a week. My mom is 4 of them. But he still invited me out to his restaurant, and it was my first experience with 5-star dining, and it was incredible.
Yeah, I remember doing that as well. And I remember kind of, you know, it was I think at that time it was the 10-course tasting menu.
Yes.
And man, I could smell curry. And I'm like, when's the curry gonna come? When's the
Yeah.
curry? The little gels kept coming out, the little foams kept coming out. I'm like, man, can I get a naan?
Yeah.
But I'm looking at it. I mean, it's a mix. You know, Soren is Thai, but Suring is not.
Right. Okay.
So it's a real mix. But again, Ladoo is Thai. It's a mix, but it leans. I'm trying to think. What I'll do is afterwards, I'll give that breakdown entirely. You know,
Sure.
of how many is actually Thai, and I'm guessing that it's probably about, of that 6, I'm guessing about 60% is Thai.
Even more than that, though, I think it's interesting to talk about why Bangkok, because a city gives an energy to its culinary scene, right? And what about Bangkok makes it such a good place to draw these like mega stars of the culinary scene?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I always sort of thought that the culinary scene changed a lot when Soul Food Mahanakorn came in. And I think that was around 2011. You know, the culinary scene had always been very strong, but it has sort of been centered around kind of central Bangkok. And you always had a lot of street food, and that was there. But I don't really remember restaurants really gaining a lot of international exposure until Jarrett Risley came on and opened up Soul Food. I may be wrong in that, or my memory may be a little fuzzy, but for some reason that period of time seemed to be when the culinary scene really popped off. You know, that was all of a sudden a little further out. That was in Tonglor. It was a Thai restaurant, but done by a expat, and we'd seen that before with Chef David Thompson. You know, with Nam. And that was always very, you know, heavy accolades, but I don't remember it really popping off until I guess around 2011, 2012, to the point where all of a sudden you had people coming into Bangkok, particularly for restaurants.
Interesting.
I mean, street food has always been there, and that's always been a big part of coming to Thailand, in large part because it's tasty, it's great, it's Thai food, and it's inexpensive. But to where people all of a sudden were spending a lot more time and money specifically going to restaurants. I'm trying to think if, you know, even before Nam, I mean, you had the Mandarin Oriental and you had those restaurants, you had the Bamboo Bar, and you know, those are all classic, iconic restaurants, or even things like Rong Mahal, or these restaurants that have been there for, you know, even Rong Mahal is now closed. But, you know, we've got these iconic restaurants that Bangkok has seen disappear bit by bit. And I don't know if that plays into things. Or it might just be with the whole evolution of food shows. You know, everything with the Food Channel, and, you know, all of a sudden chefs were starting to do a little bit in the rise of social media, I think, sort of.
Right, you see a guy on TV wearing black latex gloves, you're like, ooh, that guy must be serious.
Damn right. And, you know, and it's surprising. We were just talking about that with somebody the other day, that chefs now, you know, traditionally chefs have gone through a very strong training program, a very strong hierarchical program in the kitchen. That's now changed a lot with social media. You know, chefs now, a lot of them are self-taught. A lot of them are doing YouTube videos and sort of getting a bit of a following there. Chefs these days are now as much content creators as they are anything else. I mean,
interesting. Maybe you trace that about all the way back to Anthony Bourdain's shows, like back.
Absolutely, I think it had a huge...
His book Kitchen Confidential became a massive bestseller.
And his interest in Southeast Asian cuisine, you know, he'd come to Thailand a couple of times. I mean, I even remember him going into the Holiday Inn in Chiang Mai. I mean, I'm familiar with that hotel, so I could recognize it. But he said the first thing you do when you come into a city, check in and then leave the hotel. But his interest in Vietnam and Thailand sort of helped all of us, as far as Southeast Asia interest, and so much emphasis on food. It's shocking how food has become such a big deal in Thailand and Southeast Asia.
I went into the restaurant he ate with Barack Obama in I think it was Hanoi, or was it Ho Chi Minh?
It's Hanoi, yeah.
And they have the table now roped off with a big glass cube over it, and the utensils and beer they drank sitting there. So like,
it's the Mona Lisa of Hanoi. It's you gotta go, rope it off, take a picture, and there you are. But that's a great. Yeah, it's that valuable. It's that it's roped off.
It's the first. not the first time, but I think it's a very clear example of celebrity being injected into just putting stuff into your face. Like,
Indeed. Indeed. And it's weird when you talk about the celebrities and the big names of Bangkok culinary scene. I mean, in Kitty Chai has always been there. And obviously David Thompson was really one of the first big names I think I started to come across when I moved here, in the mid 2000s. But that was kind of different because it was all of a sudden it was a Frong doing Thai food.
it was controversial at the time, too.
Super controversial, and David, probably Chef Thompson, took a lot of heat for that because that was very taboo and controversial at the time.
Right.
But whereas now, I would say should be credited for really helping break down a lot of what's going on at the moment.
Well, one thing you said was interesting, I thought, was when you said when Soul Food came in Jarrett's restaurant, and he and actually Charlie Cater have been on the show before too.
Okay.
Really interesting. But
and I don't know if but for some reason in my mind, that just seemed to be all of a sudden when people ask, what are you doing this weekend? I'm going out to this restaurant. I'm going out to this bar.
I've never heard that really before. But also what's interesting around that time is, if you remember, just across from Soul Food on Tonglaw, across the street on Sukhumvit 38, there used to be that really fantastic street food hub. And it was, for years, it was one of my favorite places to go because it had everything. It had noodles, it had mango and fruit and shakes and all kinds of Thai food. And then I think that sort of coincided with the Thai government, the Bangkok government, starting to shut those places down, or they just were shut down because the condo was built there, the land became too expensive. So you say that around the same time, restaurants started to becoming more like Soul Food, but I remember roughly around the same time that the local street food scene started to become a little less.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you mentioned Sukhumvit 38, that was a destination street food. And, I remember after work, the teams would want to go to Sukhumvit 38.
Right.
And maybe we're sort of starting to define a little bit of it now. Because restaurants have always been there for sort of special occasions. We had the premium restaurants for special occasions, but maybe that was around that time, 2010, 2011, 2012, was all of a sudden people were just starting to head out to restaurants for not so special occasions, but just for that overall guest experience.
Right. Okay.
And maybe it's somehow I'd love someone to kind of dive in a little bit more to the historical side of the evolution of cuisine in Thailand and where things really started to change.
Yeah.
I would love to do a project like that to see. Am I accurate? I really don't know. There might have been a lot going on that I don't recall, but for some reason that just seemed to be about that time where all of a sudden restaurants with a specific location in a specific neighborhood started to really become a lot more popular.
Right. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about QR codes used for payment in Thailand. And I'm a big fan of them. I know some of our friends, some of our mutual friends are not.
Yep.
But I think that they're very, very handy. But I always kind of think that the servers are the ones who are getting screwed, because even though Thailand doesn't have a big tipping culture, if someone brings me a bill and it's 422.44 baht, I'm going to scan the QR code and type 424.44 or whatever it was into the phone, because I imagine at the end of the night they've got to reconcile their receipts and match them up to the tables and stuff. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking back in the day when I paid with cash, I would just give them 450 baht and the server got to keep the change.
Yep.
How has that changed the landscape of things here?
Okay, good. I mean, I can these are my favorite topics in the whole world. I can talk about tipping and QR codes. It's really what drives me. There's a couple things on QR codes. After COVID, a lot of restaurants started using QR codes to help just a depleted staff in ordering. Generally, people didn't like it too much. Just everyone still wanted a little bit of that personalized service of somebody coming over and taking an order.
Right.
I was okay with them because a lot of times the service staff was pretty weak and the QR code helped. But where we start to see now, and I sort of always point to Starbucks in this situation, a tremendous number of Starbucks now have gone cashless, where payment is strictly either with a card or a QR code. So So we're no longer paying in cash, at least not only Starbucks, but Starbucks is the big one because a lot of them have gone cashless. And it's one of the points that I've pointed out about Starbucks. I've sort of encouraged other restaurant owners and restaurant people to really keep an eye on Starbucks staff if you're looking for well-trained professional staff, because they're always pleasant, they're always pretty friendly, and I find that they're always pretty helpful and knowledgeable. But in recent months and years, their tips have been reduced by 60 to 70%.
Wow.
You know, with nobody, because with the QR code payment or the credit card, there's no longer a tipping system.
Right.
And granted, Thailand is not it's not the US system of mandatory tipping, but there's some money to be made there from 20 baht, 10 baht, 50 baht, whatever it may be. That is now gone. You know, it still kind of makes me, it's piqued my interest that there's oftentimes at Starbucks or some of the other restaurants that have gone cashless, that there's still a cash tip jar at the counter.
Right. Yeah.
And then the other flip side of that doesn't get really talked about too much is one of the reasons why a lot of these restaurants have gone cashless is it's twofold. I mean, it does save a lot of time and energy at the end of the night. You're not having to count as much cash. You're not having to run to the bank as much. But there is a part of it that is about you're removing the cash fear of theft from your staff as well. So the management is sort of saying one of the reasons we've gone cashless is because we don't trust our team as much, which is another, you know, if you're losing 60 to 70% of tip and you've got your management team, for example, Starbucks, sort of underhandedly saying, you know, we don't trust you with cash. I'm like, man, restaurants got to go after those guys, because I think a lot of, you know, or maybe Starbucks needs to start a union here in Thailand.
It went well in the U.S.
Yeah, it sure did. But yeah, I think people are really torn about this cashless system. You know, you see people worry about their being tracked and their finances are being tracked and all of that. I get it. We've really become accustomed to not paying as much with cash and not going to the ATM all the time, and that's become a little bit easier. But I think really the hybrid that still works for a lot of people, and I'm talking menus as well. You know, a lot of some places will only do a QR code menu, right, and that pisses off a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan myself. I'll deal with it, but I don't like it.
Yeah. I think the happy medium is sort of a hybrid. You know, have a couple of hard copy menus for people that want to touch and see and feel and be able to read the menu and sort of see how the menu ties into the greater concept of the restaurant. And there's other people that are really quite happy with a QR code and not touching a menu. Right. But it has been pretty contentious, and I do see people sometimes that, you know, do not want to visit a restaurant that has gone completely cash free and go only QR codes. Yeah,
I think ultimately the servers are the ones who's getting stiffed there. But
I agree too, and you know, that brings up another point about tipping. I mean, it's weird how even though most places now have gone cashless, more and more places do have these tip jars on the counter. You know, and it's not just restaurants anymore. It could be your hairdresser, or it could be the car dealership, or it could be, somebody said they saw a tip jar at the hospital the other day. They're popping up everywhere.
Grab driver stuck to the little console between the seats.
And I'm fascinated by it because I don't see it generating a whole lot of revenue for the teams. In fact, there's a I won't say the name, although I kind of want to, but we'll just call it a juice stand at M. Quartier, that they've got a little tip jar there that nobody ever clears it out. In fact, I see receipts in it sometimes, so it becomes a kind of countertop.
Think it's garbage.
It's garbage. I see like the lowest denomination of foreign currency in there. It's like stuff people don't want. I've seen. I was at a. You know, I'm going to go ahead and say the name. I don't think, you know, I was at a Subway the other day. Can I say names of restaurants? Yeah. I was at a Subway the other day, and, you know, there's only a single satang in the tip jar.
It's almost insulting.
It's in the US, that's punches are being thrown.
Yeah.
That's the biggest insult you can get.
Yeah.
It's worse than no tip.
Yeah.
Is the denomination of the lowest value. You know, imagine, you know, making a foot-long meatball and a warm oatmeal cookie, and somebody throws you something that has the value of 0.3 of a penny. I mean, is that adding to anybody's take-home salary?
That's right.
And it's just weird because I don't see the teams on the ground paying a lot of attention to it as well. So it's a weird dynamic, and from that, what's also a weird scenario here is if you go into any sort of just about any restaurant, there's other than perhaps street food, you're going to have the 7% and the 10%, and the 10% is your service charge. And that has always been a little bit of a gray area, but I think I've always interpreted it as a bit of a forced tip of 10%. And then it's not legal. I mean, it's not legalized how it gets distributed. It's kind of up to the owners in different places. So, sometimes it's given back to the staff entirely. Sometimes maybe a little bit of the service charge is taken out for breakage or a staff party or whatever it may be, maybe some training, that sort of thing. Or I've seen places keep it. So there's no real standardization, but for the majority of the time, it does go back. But what I start to see now is, especially if you go into a hotel and pay, it's got service charge. And if you pay with a credit card, it also will come back with a blank line that says tip. And I'm like, oh, hang on a second. This is getting into US kind of territory.
For me, if I pay 10%, I don't feel like I need to tip.
That's how most people would. I think that is how most people interpret that, as do I. It's sort of the tip that's on top. But anytime people see something blank that says tip, there's a feeling of a bit of obligation there as well.
Right.
And if you question the staff on it, you get some really different answers. It's usually the answer kind of goes something like this: oh, service charge goes to everybody, but the tip goes just to the restaurant.
It's interesting because there's the Asian cultural element of losing face too, and you don't want to come off too in your face about it, or you don't want to say the wrong thing or make it sound too needy or something.
Yep. Well, what I will say about service charge, and I've upset rooms full of people by suggesting this sometimes, and this is, I have to understand that my own views on things are sometimes very biased, just because I grew up working for tips, and I thought the tipping system was pretty good, was pretty healthy. It's not. I will say the U.S. tipping system now is broken.
It's crazy.
But back when I was tending bar and waiting tables, it was a system that encouraged speed, efficiency, knowledge, and hustle. And I think we all kind of liked that.
Yeah.
And it was a system that sort of rewarded the people that really busted their tail. And I've always been critical of the service charge in Thailand, where it's 10%, where when it's distributed evenly, you've got your A players making just as much service charge as your C players. And there's some beauty in that. There's some real beauty in that people are more equal. It's not so competitive. We're like, I want my share. I want more than the other guy. That's a very American greed-based system. But I will say, salaries are not equal. Bonuses are not equal. And I've always wondered if would service in Thailand be stronger if service charge was also weighted, by the A players getting a larger percentage of service charge, and the C players, the players that are not quite so strong, getting a little less. And then the service charge becomes a bit of an incentive, a motivational, so much like it was in the US. You bust your tail, you make more money.
Right.
But I'm dipping into very strong cultural differences, and it's weird what stays with you for so long.
Right.
But I can acknowledge the beauty in a more equal and balanced system. But I'm also sometimes wanting, guys, let's hustle. Let's hustle.
Yeah.
Let's go. And that's hard to do sometimes if there's not a greater incentive, whether it be financial or other.
And along those same lines, one thing you said earlier about about Starbucks, about training, this is something that I noticed a long time ago, many years ago, when I was working at Agoda. They had a couple of coffee shops in the lobby, and there was a Thai coffee shop chain, which will remain nameless, next to a Starbucks coffee shop chain.
Right.
And you'd go up to and the coffee from the Thai one was fine. And you'd go up to them and you'd like wait at the counter, and there'd always be some woman like ducking down behind the counter, picking her zits or doing her friend's hair, or they wouldn't notice you and you had to say "koto cap," and it was very hit and miss.
There's no bell at the counter.
Right. And then you go to Starbucks, and everyone had a script. They knew exactly where to go, how to do it, how long it should take, what to say, and it was just bam, bam, bam. And the difference was very stark. And you're like, that's the difference between a really well-trained, coordinated staff and one that's just told, this is how you make a coffee, go take care of the customers. One thing I also have noticed over the past past few years, and I'm not the only one, is the amount of Burmese staff in Thai restaurants.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think what I've heard and what I agree with is that they are almost always superb. They've got great table manners, rapport with their customers at the tables. Their English is very good, and they seem to want to hustle more.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just my experience.
Yep.
What do you say about
No,
this?
it's par for the course. I think it was some of the, I guess we can say some of the brands. I think it's okay. I think it was Sunrise Tacos that initially was given a lot of credit for bringing in some Filipino staff to kind of help elevate the service and things. This is several years ago, but in recent years, the relationships between Myanmar and Thailand, Burma and Thailand has made it much easier for Burmese staff to work legally with a sort of it's a work permit of sorts.
Okay.
And absolutely, the Burmese staff, when I had Namsal Bottling Trust, we had a couple, and they were there, steady, durable, diligent. They were sort of the industrial athletes. They were there the entire 6 years. Oftentimes, English is also stronger.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just sometimes playing that fine line between, how many can you have? You still got to have your ratio of Thai nationals to foreign. And I can't recall how that affects some of the Myanmar, the Burmese nationals, but everyone will pretty much say that's an agreement that the Burmese staff are stronger.
Interesting. Small trivia note too, when Greg opened the first Sunrise Tacos location on Sukhumvit, the very first episode of the Bangkok podcast was recorded in his back office.
Okay. It's a tiny back office.
It was small.
Because that's over near where Sukhumvit 12 is now.
Exactly.
Okay. And that was the first location that had, I think they had a couple Filipino staff. They had some in the kitchen.
Okay.
And they had some on the front of the house. And that sort of raised some eyebrows because, hang on a second, the staff is fluent in English, had pretty good service skills, and all of a sudden people were sort of taking note of, it's not always just Thai front of house staff.
Oh, yeah.
And how that changes the dynamic and also ruffles a lot of feathers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we were recording with pantyhose stretched over cross-stitch frames, so it was a different time.
Right. That's great.
One of the things that you've also done is you sometimes put out these lists of things that I'm not sure what they're called, but things you want to see from the F&B industry that year. And there's always some really sort of deep thoughts by Justin kind of thing. And
very deep.
one of them you talk about, one of the ones you just sent out a few months back was you talk about ketchup. And I always joke because when I run out of ketchup at home, I was thinking, is it easier for me to go and buy a bottle from the grocery store, or should I just order a pizza? Because it's going to come with 75 packets of ketchup.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, I don't get it. This is sort of some of the beauty and the charm of Thailand. If you order a pizza, and even if you say you don't want ketchup, you're sure to get 12 packets of ketchup.
Yeah.
Yet if you order a burger in a restaurant and you order fries, ketchup is a real integral part of French fries. I love French fries, but I love French fries even more with the savory, rich, deep flavor of a ketchup.
Yeah.
But restaurants seem to not understand that there needs to be an equal balance of fries to ketchup. You seem to always run out of ketchup sort of half, maybe not even halfway, but then you're at a conundrum. Do I ask for more ketchup? Are they going to charge me for more ketchup? Is it just too much of a hassle? Am I the greedy bastard for wanting more ketchup? But why don't restaurants just give more ketchup? The pizza guys are more than happy to do it. Why are restaurants so stingy with their ketchup?
I got an egg salad sandwich from Starbucks a while ago. Not my first choice, but they do a solid egg salad sandwich.
Do they?
And I asked for and they came with a packet of ketchup. And I said, can I have some more ketchup? And they gave me one more packet. I'm like, can I have 3 more, please? And the guy looked at me like I'd asked for a free egg salad sandwich.
Right. Well, it's funny you say that because I went to an F&B conference last week and was flying out of the airport. It was early morning, so I stopped in at McDonald's. And I ordered the pancakes. They now charge for maple syrup.
What?
Yeah.
Those sons of bastards.
14 baht. I guess. I mean, I actually don't know if I ordered it or not. Actually, no, I must have. So I guess I didn't really pay attention, but I must have been charged an extra 14 baht.
Let me tell you, one of the fringe benefits of having a podcast and pronouncing our love of maple syrup so much is that every once in a while we get a friendly, generous listener who brings a half liter of Bangkok or of maple syrup to us as a gift, which is very nice.
Maybe we should talk about something else. I've heard you love champagne, like really expensive champagne.
Big fan of Ferraris.
Right. Let's see. Let's give it a go.
Another thing on your list is the relationship that you'll have to guide me here. A restaurant manager or host brings to the ambience of an dining experience.
Yeah, I know what you're referring to. It's things. I mean, the whole industry was really tossed on its head with COVID. It was a real challenging, tragic time for many different reasons. And one of the things that happened to hotels, restaurants, is everyone was looking to reduce their manning just to save costs and see where they could trim where possible. And during that process, there's a lot of people that weren't quite qualified to be promoted were being promoted because you may have still needed to fill a position. And where I've seen this a significant amount in restaurants is I see supervisors of the front of house supervisors in restaurants have been promoted to restaurant managers.
Okay.
And they're just not ready for it. A restaurant manager really needs to be the DNA, the soul, the face of a restaurant. They are the ones that are building up your repertoire of regular guests and encouraging loyal guests and being able to say hi to a lot of people, being able to really banter, being able to make really strong recommendations, saying hi to people, sort of a host, sort of a maitre d' all mixed in one is what your restaurant manager, and being able to read a P&L statement and being able to motivate, encourage, and train and hire staff. But it
sounds complicated.
I mean, the whole industry is just wildly complicated and really challenging. It's never boring, but it's a challenging industry. And where I see that a lot of restaurants and it's not just particular to Thailand, it's sort of all over the world, our restaurant managers are just not as strong as they used to be because we've taken supervisors and promoted them to be restaurant managers, and they're just not ready for it. Like there's rest all over town. I could walk into a restaurant and still not really be certain who the restaurant manager is. And that really hurts the operation, the ambiance, just the overall comfort and confidence level of a restaurant to not have those figures that used to be there that were the face of a restaurant.
Right.
That's gone now.
I remember years ago, and this is going back quite a bit, but I don't even know if it's there anymore, but when the first real bagel place opened, BKK Bagels, at the bottom of what's the tower there where the FCC is?
Oh, I know exactly. It's like Mania
Plaza. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. A branch of it is right here now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, when they first opened, it was the only one. And their head chef manager guy was Brock. And he was fantastic. And he was funny and personable and knowledgeable and just a great guy. And you got that sense of energy from the place when you walked in. Everything from how the menu on the chalkboard menu on the wall was written to his banter with you to how you would order. And then after a few years, he left, and there was a noticeable shift in the how you felt inside the restaurant.
Yep. And that's sort of what I'm talking about. It's just our restaurants are missing that key personality, that key soul person, the face of a restaurant. And a lot of the hotels I work with, the ones that I see that do really well are the ones that have very little turnover, very few. I mean, as a whole, the industry, this is a crazy number, as a whole, the industry year on year sees about an 80% turnover.
Oh my God,
so
really?
Somebody hired in January probably doesn't make it as far as December. At least if you hire 100 new people, 80 of them will potentially be gone by December.
Is that just going to a new restaurant or out of the whole industry?
It's both. So it's, here in Thailand, it's probably moving over to another restaurant or opening their own coffee shop or deciding to work for Grab or Line Man and just a little bit more freedom. And I totally get that. But where I see restaurants that really thrive are ones that still have the same team year in and year out, because they're not forced to start from zero every single time you turn over. And it's the properties that I work with, and it's a handful, but it's one of the things that I always point out as to why they're working is they've established the chemistry amongst the team, and they're just not having to start from scratch every time a key person leaves, because they're just not leaving. It's real magic. And I mean, if you were to ask me what one of the key of success stories of Bed Supper Club was, during my time there, was we had no turnover. The kitchen staff was the same kitchen staff from day one all the way till the end.
Really?
The owners were present. The owners were there greeting guests all the time. I was there for 7.5 years. I've never been that long in another place since then. Our restaurant managers, our maitre d's, just about everybody was there for a long time. And it helped create an emotional engagement with the guests. And to this day, I've never seen a place that has as strong of an emotional attachment as Bed Supper Club did. People felt as if they were part owners.
Right.
They were that emotionally engaged with it. It was something I'm yet to see with some of the other places I've helped out with.
For those that don't know, the listeners who are younger, they might not remember
Yeah.
Bed Supper Club, but back in the day, what was that, about 2006, 2007, 8?
I started working in 2005 and left in 2012, and some people would say that the heyday of Bangkok was those years 2008 to 2011. So
Yeah.
it was in that time. It was the Q Bar days.
So back
Bed Supper
in the
Club,
day,
yes.
on Soy 11, before it was taken over by drug gangs and guys selling dildos on card tables.
And Volkswagen vans.
There was Volkswagen vans, there
Right.
was Bed Supper Club, and there was Q Bar, and they were the places to go. And that was really cool. But they were magnets for everyone.
It really was. It's if we were go down that road, it was a real magical time. But it was also, it's part of the restaurants that work and restaurants that don't work. It's there's no real clear science. Soy 11 I've always given Q Bar a lot of credit for the reason Bed Supper Club worked, because Q Bar was there for a couple years earlier, and they helped establish Soy 11 as a real go-to place. But it was also interesting. One of the stories I always remember is one of the owners, Sanya, had told me that, even though Bed Supper Club ran for 11 years, once the mandatory P test came in as early as 2004, that was one of the first shifts of a real demographic in Thailand. A lot of places had really lost out of the real cream of the crop, HISO, just because that crowd got scared off.
You're talking about police
P-test.
busting in and P-testing everyone.
Yeah. Good to clarify that.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't
a qualification of
the owners
employment
of
or
Bed Supper
anything.
Club. Yeah, right. It was the
If you want to work here, you've got to do a P-test.
right.
So wrapping things up here, I just want to also touch on something you mentioned, and that's Grab. And, back in the day, the rule was if you want to find a good local place, go find a place that's full of local people to eat at. But that's not really the case anymore. Now you look for a place that's got a bunch of dudes in green jackets standing outside waiting to take the food away.
So true.
How has Grab shifted the F&B scene here?
It's, one of the things about the F&B industry, the food and beverage industry, is how dynamic and changing, and it changes quickly, not just with the restaurants, but also marketing and partners and collaborations as well. It's wild how quickly it can change. And, and it's weird too, because food delivery has always been here in Bangkok. We used to have that food by phone, I think it was, back in the day.
Man, I remember that.
But they just didn't have whatever it was to kind of take it over. And they didn't have COVID either, where things really kicked off. But it's changed the industry. A couple of things have changed the industry in that way. One is GPS. It's, if you go to a place like Hom out in, deep Prakanong, that's hard to find unless you've got a GPS. I'd even gone to a place in Tonglor where if I didn't have my GPS, I would have given up. Even with the GPS, I almost gave up.
Oh, yeah.
Just because it's a hard place to find. All of a sudden you see these houses popping up that would have never survived 10 years ago, just because they were too far off the beaten path.
Right.
Whereas GPS has really opened up. You can put something now anywhere. Whereas the delivery guys have changed things is wild. It's, you see a lot of places that do okay, but a couple places that I consult for, they do up to 60% of their revenue comes from Grab.
And on top of that, you got to think about Grab's cut too.
And that's a nice segue. I think a lot of the commissions that Grab, it's upwards of 30 to 35%, depending on which company you work with. Wow. and how much volume you do. I think that it's always negotiable, but a lot of times if you're first starting to get your foot in the door and nobody knows you and you don't have a lot of volume yet, you're probably looking at 30 to 35% commission, which is steep. But I also give credit to the Grab guys because they do a tremendous amount. I mean, the marketing side of things is without them, nobody's going to be able to potentially find you.
Right.
But I've always argued that restaurants should negotiate a little bit because these Grab guys are driving down one-way streets, they're driving on sidewalks, they're eating the pizza en route, they're popping wheelies on and it's kind of your brand. Your brand is being affected by the delivery nature of these Grab drivers. And when I see these guys, I live on a street that's one way here in the morning, and I see these Grab guys come down and stop at the croissant shop and keep going. I'm like, man, take these images and go to your Grab rep and say, hey guys, I'll tell you what, you lower my commission in return for stronger driving etiquette from your guys. If I keep seeing your guys run red lights, I'm going to come back to you and I want you to take off 3% each time I can show you.
Interesting.
I mean, but I come at that from that angle, but I also know that a lot of restaurants have really become dependent upon Grab, and it's really become a service to all of us that don't want to go out. I mean, I'm not a big delivery guy. I think we've talked about this before. I'd rather see a bad movie in the theater than a great movie streaming at home.
Okay.
And I'm the same with restaurants. I'd rather go to a bad restaurant on site than have a great meal delivered to me. I like the experience of sitting in a restaurant and seeing the menu and seeing the staff and seeing the ambiance and seeing the music and seeing the plateware and seeing, I love that. That to me is what life is about. Whereas eating at home is a bit of a shortcut. And I get it. This is Bangkok where, man, you don't want to be out there all the time.
Yeah.
But the Grab and the Line Man, and we saw that Food Panda was just sort of eaten up, I guess, by Grab. It's changed the industry entirely.
Right.
Especially for those restaurants that have the green jackets lined up. It adds so much revenue to their restaurant. It's wild.
There's no one in here, but this place is crazy popular because there's 500 guys waiting outside.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, man, that's really interesting. Thank you for your insights on that. It's like the F&B thing is one of those industries where everyone touches, but it's so deep, and I don't think the average Joe knows much about how deep it goes and all the little nuances and little tweaks and things and secrets of it.
Yeah, very true. It's fascinating. It's next to the spirits and the ghosts. It's an equal love and passion, but man, it can do your head in.
What's the name of the ghost with a small mouth that can't eat?
Pret.
You got to get that guy. You take him to some restaurants.
And what's funny about that actually ties into food and beverage as well.
Exactly,
I mean, there's nothing worse. There's the afterlife is absolute hell to be reincarnated to a ghost that can't eat.
That's right.
And that's you're really in hell.
Hell for me, man. That's right. Well, there's a brand new Burmese restaurant that just opened up near my office. And next time you're in the area, let me know because it is really good.
Okay.
Like a killer ginger salad and tea leaf salad.
The tea leaf salads, yes. Okay. Oh, I'm game.
All right, Justin Dunne, where can people find out more about your
good question.
services?
I mean, my website is evolution48.com, but I'm also on I still do Twitter. I think I'm probably one of the last ones left. In fact, even on my feed, I think I don't do the feed for following. I do the one for you because it's full of fast food restaurant fights. And I could watch that all day long. That's heaven to me. Other people are watching other things. I like watching fights that happen in fast food restaurants. But yes, Justin Dunne on Twitter, Justin Dunne on Instagram, Justin Dunne on Facebook, LinkedIn. But my website for the company is evolution48.com.
Cool. All right, man. I'll see you soon for some Burmese food. Thank you very much.
I'm game.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Dude, this is interesting to me because I really only knew him from the Bangkok Hans thing, which obviously is just his side gig. It's not really his main thing.
Yeah, right. His Bangkok Hans is his Bangkok podcast. It's like his side hustle.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was really interesting to talk to him, and he puts a lot of interesting things in perspective. Like he said, this new list came out, the top 50 restaurants in the world, and 6 of them are on this list in Bangkok.
Nice.
And he put it in such a way. He said, that's 12% of the world's best restaurants are in Bangkok.
I've said this obviously on the show, but I was just talking to some newbies in Thailand about why I stay here, and I'm not even a foodie, but I just think this is a great place to eat, man. It's just the price and the quality and the variety, like multiply those all together.
Right, and he had some good insights into why Bangkok is this place. Why not Tokyo? Why not Paris? Why not New York? But Bangkok is where it's at, man. So
but to me, it's street food up to fine dining. Like that's what's amazing. Great cheap street food, and then you can just work your way up to 5-star restaurants, Michelin star restaurants.
That's exactly it. That's what we say, right? That's why it's so great to go out here, because you can have a great night out and stuff yourself silly, and you can spend $10 or you can spend $1,000.
Yeah, that's right. Correct.
But yeah, great to chat to Justin. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Justin. And we'll have you back to talk about, I don't know, maybe you'll find a new ghost. Maybe,
that's right. Maybe a ghost restaurant. That's the key.
A ghost restaurant. That's a great idea for Halloween. It'll be a pop-up. I like it. Yeah, thanks, Justin. Great to chat to you. All right, let's get into some love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we discuss to decide if it's something that we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have come to accept as something that we just have to learn to live with, no matter how we feel about it. And this week, it's my turn to throw something your way, Ed.
All right, let's do this.
So this one is not really a love, loathe, or live with. It's hard to know how someone can love this, but I kind of want to know how much you loathe it or just have resigned yourself to live with it, and how much it affects you. But what is your take on the limited hours in which you can buy booze in Bangkok? Does this piss you off like to no end, or do you just shrug your shoulders and be like, whatever?
Well, for some reason, you're in my wheelhouse now.
Yeah.
I do find it really annoying. And even after all these years, I still get burned, where I forget about it. And because I live, as I've talked about before, I live right next to a food land. It's open 24 hours a day. And so I'll be going to, actually, this just happened to me. This was a victory because I remembered the alcohol sales hours. But 2 weeks ago, I was going to a birthday party. It was on the weekend. I had to be at a guy's place out of the city at 4 p.m. And in the past, I've gotten burned, where I go, like I run into Foodland at 3 p.m. about to get in a taxi, and I'm like, oh shit, I can't buy wine.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
you gotta be the dumbass that shows up to the party without
empty-handed. That's right. But thank God this time I remembered, that what is it? I think it's 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. So I ran over to Foodland like early to make sure I could buy wine, so I didn't have to show up empty-handed. But I hate it. This is a hard loathe for me. I understand the idea, but I don't think it works. It's like listeners out there, especially if you're newbie to Thailand, you might be surprised to realize that you can't. What is it? It's 2 p.m. to, is it 5? I think it's
2 p.m. to 5.
Yeah,
you're not allowed.
You
to
cannot buy alcohol, and the premise is supposed to be that. It's literally, I think it's supposed to be like kids getting out of school.
Right.
Like they don't want them to be able to buy booze, even though they're underage. Like so I'm down with keeping booze out of the hands of people who are underage. I have no problem with that. But I don't think the hour you sell it has anything to do with it. It should be based on like the ID. It's really, and I think I've actually read some research that it actually doesn't work. So the premise of the hours, I think, is flawed. And it can be one of the most frustrating things. So,
right.
Luckily, it doesn't happen too often. But man, when you're just in a rush somewhere and you're like, I got to go grab a bottle of this, and then it's like they won't sell it because it's during the hours. It's brutal. So I'm a hard loathe. But there is an asterisk. Do you know the asterisk?
Okay.
Do you know the asterisk? The asterisk is they recently just literally changed the booze laws in that they have now allowed some exceptions. And I think the exceptions, if I get it right, are airports, I think hotels, and then certain licensed entertainment venues. And of course, in Thai fashion, it's very unclear what that licensing is. So it's unclear whether you're going to need a special, like a special 24-hour booze license. It's a little bit unclear. But at least now, this literally just passed this week, or it actually passed 60 days ago, but now it's been published. So now it's in effect. There are actually some exceptions to these crazy booze hours.
Interesting. Yeah. I'm for this one. I'm a live with, sometimes going into loathe. I don't drink a lot, and I find it mildly annoying sometimes when I happen to want to buy booze
Hard loathe
within those hours.
Hard loathe. I'm a libertarian on this. This is a nanny state thing. I'm a hard loathe.
I find it more of just an annoyance than anything, but there's a lot of things that annoy me. This no more or no less than any others. So I'm a live with on it, but
okay, you're wrong.
Shouldering with loathe.
Or you'll support me in my loathing.
I will support you in your loathing. I think the rules should be changed. I'm a consenting adult, damn it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, a final thanks to our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping in our never-ending quest for cool content. Find out more by clicking support on our website. And connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
That's right. You can also listen to each episode on the YouTubes. Send us a voicemail through our website that we'll feature on the show. Hit me up on Blue Sky, BKK Greg. Thank you for listening, everyone. Stay dry. Rain's coming down hard. I'll see you back here next week.
No doubt.